Ladies and gentlemen, I'm late with this. It's extremely late. Holy crap. About 10 and a half hours late, in fact. Yikes. That's pretty bad. Regardless, it's time for the rating video of Final Fantasy IV's 3D remake that was originally released on the DS. Yes, and was later ported to Steam. Let me go ahead and just say this. This is not the version of Final Fantasy IV I recommend. That remains the Pixel Remaster. This one is kind of scored lower than the Pixel Remaster by a lot, like a huge factor. The gameplay was in the net negatives, which, as you can see on screen, means that, yeah, it took a nasty hit. So, we'll get into why as we go. Usual spiel, 6 sessions, no cheats, because which, fun fact, actually during this run, I actually did try to do install cheat engine onto my computer. My computer flat out said, go fuck yourself. No cheat engine. Which is kind of hilarious in hindsight, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So, the story was, of course, not what dragged this one down, and obviously, since the story was a net, there's my stream summary from today, was a net at plus 53. So, there we go. Oh wow, I had a 3.1 average viewers today. I just finished streaming, if you're wondering what that is. Anyways, let's get into it, shall we? So, story positives. The CG opening. I like it. I've honestly always liked it. Well animated, great music, and it actually hints at a lot of things pretty nicely. Sure, some spoilery bits are there too. I mean, if you count Cecil becoming a paladin as a spoiler, I guess, but I just shrug. I like it. It's well done. Voice acting. Acting got 2 positives, because I honestly feel it's on point throughout. With special call-outs to Yuri Lowenthal as Cecil and Peter Beckman as Golbez, respectfully. I have gained a lot of respect for Yuri Lowenthal's vocal talents over the years, mostly because I feel he got away from, well, I want to call it the Sasuke Uchiha trap. But really, what we should be calling it is the typecasting trap, right? You know how it is. Is an actor is good at a particular kind of role, and so they keep getting typecast in that role, right? But no, I feel Yuri Lowenthal captures Cecil's character perfectly, and the fact that they did not have him come back to... there was no voice acting in the 3D version of After Years is nothing short of fucking criminal, in my opinion. Peter Beckman, on the other hand, as Golbez, oh man, that was amazing. He did a phenomenal job. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, yeah, that's probably because you're a fan of Trails, because, well, as I say in the note here, what would you expect from the man that so masterfully brought Gileath fucking Osborne to life in the Cold Steels? Yeah. I gave the Thought Balloons a full 3 positives, because I do think they enhanced the story quite a bit. Their absence in After Years pissing me off as well. I'll try not to be too much of a broken record about that, but I just finished After Years today from my perspective, and that sucked. So, yeah. The usual flavor positives are all here. They're sprite work, brickwork, sprite work, visual storytelling, gameplay story integration, which got 2 positives, music direction, which once again got a full 3 positives, even in this version, humor, NPC chatter, Lindblom effect. It's light, but it's there. Hey, but it's there. Good visual continuity, good pacing, good foreshadowing. I also gave the touched-up dialogue from the 2D version to this full 3 positives, because I actually think the dialogue in the 3D version is really good. And to be fair, and to be blunt, I actually really like Shakespearean dialogue, and this kind of feels like Shakespearean in a lot of ways, right? So, cool. Now we get to move on to characters. Cecil, 2 positives. Positives, do I really need to say more? Or, I love Cecil, he's a great main character. Kane, 2 positives as well, I love his arc. Rosa, 2 positives. Absolutely. Sid, I frickin' find Sid funny, so there you go. Rydia, favorite character in in the entirety of Final Fantasy. Favorite FF4 character, hands down. In this one, she's worthy of 3 positives. Fuck you after years. Tella was cool. Tella was awesome. Yang was awesome. Golbez was a triple positive. Especially considering Golbez is made all the better with Peter Beckman's voice acting. Which just adds to the menace. And to be fair, if you've heard Peter Beckman as Gileath Osborne in Cold Steel's 1 through 3, you know why it's just like, oh my god, right? It's a shame he apparently retired from everything except Zangief. Although I imagine Street Fighter 6 is probably going to be his last portrayal of Zangief, if I'm honest. Which sucks, because I wish he had basically just stuck out Osborne for the last 2 uses of the character. Namely, Cold Steel 4 and the last 3, excuse me. Cold Steel 4, Reverie, and well, I guess that would be 5 actually, because there's Cold Steel 4, there's Reverie, then there's the finally getting localized. Actually, that'd be Azure, so just 4. Excuse me. He wasn't in 0. Wake up, Alex. So, Cold Steel 4, Azure, Northern War, and Reverie. You know, would have been nice, but whatever. Golbez is still awesome. Triple positive. Fusoya. He may be just exposition, but honestly, he's still a good character in this one. I really like him. I decided to give the scene with Rosa visiting Cecil in his tower a positive here in the 3D remake, as I honestly feel it just shows off both of their characters, and I feel it's expanded upon nicely in the 3D version. Get used to that, because that's actually going to be a lot of where the positives come from, are scenes that were enhanced in the 3D version. Also, yes, even in this version, I love the romance between Cecil and Rosa. I get the sense that they genuinely care about each other, and we see multiple examples of that throughout the entire game. The 3D version of the Torching of Mist is wonderful. It is a wonderful scene in the 3D version. This is a totally unfitting song. Holy crap. But, meh. But yeah, okay, let me make sure I'm still good. Yeah, I'm still good. Okay, cool. Alright, let's see. So yeah, the intro. So yeah, the torching of mist, wonderful in the 3D version. It expands on the scene and adds weight to it. I absolutely. That was the scene where I knew Yuri Lowenthal was going to make a great Cecil. Right there, was right there in that scene when he screamed out, "Why?" That was so good. It really got across how fucking pissed Isti was at that moment. The Damsian section is still wonderfully haunting. Spoony Bard is even kept in this remake, which is good. Anna's death continues to be a great scene. Made even better by the voice acting, too. Again, like I said, you're going to keep hearing it. Edward versus the Shogun. Again, Riddy learning to cast fire. Kane's betrayal. Which I think I only gave one positive to in the 2D version, but the voice acting ups that to 2. Absolutely. Cecil's transformation into a paladin. Great scene. Great way to showcase Cecil waving goodbye to his bloodstained past, especially in the 3D version. 2 positives there. Telecasting Meteor remains an amazing scene. Sadly, this is an example of not as strong gameplay story integration as it was in the 2D version, because Tela's spells were doing, what was it, like 2,000 or 3,000 per, instead of like the 600 to 800 they were doing in the 2D version. And I think the 2 to 800 versus Quad 9 is just a more effective, poignant, is a poignant, is kind of poignant, right? So, cool. It's just more poignant. It's still a good scene, even in the 3D version, it's just, Tela's death may not be the best in the series by a wide margin, but honestly, it still hits. And unlike several deaths we've gone over this year, over the course of the year, over the past year. Let me fix that. Over the past year, it is not undone for arbitrary reasons. I still love Rydia's return. It is still a triple positive. So, now let's get into some of the other crap. Cid's sacrifice. Okay, it's fucking dumb, and we'll get into the negatives surrounding it in the negatives, but in a vacuum, if we just take the scene by itself, it's great, and the voice acting does sell that scene in a vacuum. Then there's the Edge's parents scene. It's damn effective, and I feel the weight of it every time. Now, if only Edge wasn't an irritating character, this would get multiple positives. Oh, well. In this version, I really like the reveal of the Lunar Whale. The voice acting, the 3D cutscene, and the painted image all make the reveal feel majestic. I don't think that's a positive I gave the 2D version, so there's that. Then there's the reveal that Cecil is half Lunaran, which is still a good moment. The cavalry moment with the Giant of Babel waking up. I like that. The reveal of Golbez being Cecil's brother when he is freed from mind control. That's a good scene, and makes it so that we can pity Golbez without whitewashing his actions, because Golbez is the first one to admit, oh fuck, I'm an asshole. Because Cecil even says, it's like, oh, if the roles were reversed, it could have been me, and Golbez is like, yeah, no, between the two of us, I'm the asshole, not you, Cecil. Jesus. Like, instantaneously he says that, and then that goes into the next positive. Golbez's past, which I feel is well handled and shows that while he is not fully responsible for his actions, he is not willing to accept that he had no part in Zima's choosing him. Good stuff. The cutscene battle between Golbez and Fusoya against Zimas, still an awesome scene. The 3D version's voice acting makes the prayer scene all the better. Another one that I'm pretty sure I didn't give positive to in the 2D version. 2 positives for Cecil bidding farewell to Golbez and calling him brother. Great cap off to his character arc. Good stuff. 2 positives there, as I said. 2 positives for the ending. I like where all the characters are at, and while this story is at its end, their growth isn't necessarily. As a fanfiction writer, that is great for me as I can expand upon the character journeys and completely ignore the ass-backwards fuck heap of an ass wipe that is the fucking after years. Sorry, I really fucking hate after years. Anyways, I really like the animations during the credits, and the final bit is especially good in the 3D version. The bit just before the credits is great in the 3D version, and I like the animations in the 3D version. I also really like this outro. The character arcs are wrapped up nicely. It feels triumphant and leaves things on a bittersweet, if not outright happy note. 2 positives. Also, I gave the proper remake positive for the story axis. I'm pretty sure I did not on the gameplay. Yeah. Now let's get into the story negatives. I gave it a positive and a negative. The opening is as spoilery as it is gorgeous. My second negative is for Beggin. The story was expanded, and Beggin is still a giant nothing burger. I actually gave Palom and Porom separate negatives here, because with the thought balloons really showing, the Palom is as annoying as ever, and the thought balloons really show why I despise him, and why, in my opinion, he warrants the full 3 negatives. And then Porom just honestly was no better, and I just felt like she was just kind of an irritant too, right? Especially in this version where it's just like, blech, just blech in this one. Also, speaking of the brats, fuck their sacrifice. Ugh. It's just as awful as the 2D version, and the voice acting makes it all the worse for it being undone later. It would have been nice. But the thing is the voice acting is not good enough to save this scene and say that in a vacuum this scene is good. Honestly, I shouldn't have even given Sid it's fucking, and so young too. Ooh, the voice acting on Sid a positive because on Sid's sacrifice being a positive because it being undone really does fucking kill it, in my opinion. Then there's the Dark Elf, which is just a non sequitur. He doesn't have the stupid speech pattern from the 2D version, but he's still an awful non sequitur, and I honestly just freaking hate it. I know some people will see it as smart storytelling because, because then because he's actually a more natural way of, not having Golbez just walk in and get the crystal, right? Because we have to have that trade the crystal for Rosa crap and stuff, right? I don't know. I just feel like that might be a bit of a, I just feel that's a bit of a And I almost feel like it's kind of frickin' pointless, right? I really do just feel like it's just kind of ugh. So, yeah. Then there's Young's Sacrifice, which is the second of the gets undone in stupid ways death. Really? The fanfare? Let's not. If we're talking about something stupid, we need a stupid song, you know? There we go. So, Yon's sacrifice. It is so damn stupid. First, it's completely unclear what the hell he even does to stop the explosion, and the second is that it's completely unclear. How the fuck does he survive that? The only explanation we get is the saved by fairies thing, and that doesn't even remotely explain it. And just as I was typing it, I'm pretty sure I copy and pasted from the 2D version, but yeah, as I was typing out the 2D version, and it remains true in the 3D version, I felt it deserved 2 negatives. Sid's sacrifice was 3 negatives, because it's even fucking worse, as he blows himself up, falls from a ridiculous distance, and he's just fine later. Combine that with a later negative, and it's just like, fuck this bullshit. 3 negatives there. Speaking of headaches, Edge is honestly a headache. His arrogance pisses me off, and he remains that way the entire game. And I'm supposed to buy that this dumbass gets with Rydia, and even somewhat sort of has a kid with her? Kiss my ass. And to answer past Alex's question about me going to about hating on After Years, yeah, you did end up hating After Years. Although the irony of ironies was, Edge was not the reason why. Not by a long shot. Also, once again, the thought balloons and voice acting are a pair of double-edged swords, no pun intended, and they make Edge insufferable. Well, for me, so triple negative. How did he become the best character of After Years? I still don't understand that. Yeah, spoilers, Edge is the best character in After Years. What the fuck? Moving on. So, we seal the underworld, only to unseal it a dungeon or 2 later. Lame. Then there's the fake-outs with Sid, which are just too much. Once is tolerable, twice is aggravating, but 3 times? Yeah, 3 separate times they basically trick us into thinking Sid has finally died. Kiss my ass, game. Ugh. Okay, I'm actually gonna skip over this triple negative for a minute and go to say that I like this ending, but the text advancement on the last bit is just too fast. Alright, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but one last time for posterity's sake, Cecil telling Rosa and Rydia to stay behind is the worst scene in the game, no question. Okay? Again, once more, we're ignoring the sexism disguising itself as chivalry. Okay? And we're also going to ignore Edge's laugh. Every time I see it and hear it for the Edge's laugh thing. Let's look at this practically, right? You're asking your white mage and your summoner to stay home. This is a move that cripples the party's fighting strength. Allow me to be blunt. Without the ability to heal, Zeromus would be a lot harder to deal with. So yeah, that's why that was a triple negative, for a total of 24 story negatives, offsetting 77 story positives. Still pretty good. Next up, the gameplay positives. The music is still a triple positive. I know some have their issues with this version's music. And I will never understand. This is going to sound so dickish, but I'll never understand that. To me, it's fucking stupid. For people saying this music is crap. I have heard people say that that these remixes are awful, and I don't understand that in the slightest. Same shoutouts to Rydia's theme and the Battle with the Four themes. Which is not what these songs are. Actually, that's a good... This is just the normal boss song. Did we already have Rydia's theme? No, we did not. That's a couple of songs away. Anyways. So the autosaves in the Steam version, very good, because the DS version did not have autosaves, and that made it even worse. Made this version even more aggravating to play. The world map, I actually kind of like how it fills out as you travel, and that actually does work for you seeing progress, at least until you get the airship, but that's a whole other issue. The dungeon maps are nicely detailed and help with navigation. Also, I like the fact that filling out the dungeon maps is fun and rewarding. Rewarding as you gain items every time you fully complete a map, which is nice. Useful items too, so that helps. The augment system. This is the 3D version's exclusive gimmick. I like the augment system. It actually is pretty cool and expands your skill set very nicely. I like these combat animations, and I like the summons. The animation on the summons. While I do like the animations in After Years, these summon animations are literally just copy and paste, so I'm like, yeah, I don't think After Years gets credit for that, you know? So, I gave 2 summon animations, two positives to the summon animations, with special mention to Bahamut's, as it is one of the best animations he has ever had. There's our 2 gameplay story integration positives. I did give a good boss design positive, because I actually do think these some of the curves, the curving of the difficulty is a little this is still good boss design. I still say there's good tutorialization and decent tutorials here. There are helpful NPCs. There's good variety in your party members. And I do feel like the power progression is in core combat. There's some good enemy variety, great overworld design, good itemization and loot, and good pacing. Now let's get into individual things, shall we? The Mist Dragon remains a good tutorial boss. I like Octomammoth, he's fun. The Antlion in the 3D version is honestly an interesting fight of watching and reacting, so that's pretty cool. Scarmaleon is still a fun and challenging boss in this version, in both rounds, and you can still heal in between the rounds, so that's nice. Nice, right? So so it doesn't punish you for having to run back to the frickin' save point and pitch a tent, right? So, Cecil's trial to change into a paladin. Paladin is a great idea for a puzzle boss, namely letting the Dark Knight end himself. I like the fight against the Magus sisters. I honestly still think it's good in the 2D version. It's not as garbage as in After Years, but that's also because After Years adds the tall one casting confusion on you. Here's Rydia's song, by the way. Speaking of which, and I also like the battle with Barbarisha, and then there's Rydia's return. It is not hampered by the increase in difficulty. And in my opinion, it is just still wonderful. Even to play that, it's just like, oh my god! Golbez really was just like, no, I will not let Rydia freaking curb stomp me like she did in the 2D version. I'm going to beat you! So, good stuff there. I like fighting Rubicante. Hey, I like the Zura being a good test of your skills. Pro tip, cast reflect on her. You'll thank me later. I still love Demon Wall as a demon DPS race. I think Odin is fun in this version as well. Well, I don't like Leviathan in this version. We'll get into that into the negatives, by the way. The Lunar Whale, still one of my favorite airships in the series. Here he is. Bahamut. He may not be his puzzle boss self in this version, but he is still a damn intense and fun fight. So good stuff. The rematch against the Four Fiends, double positive. I do like the optional battles in the final dungeon. They are fun and rewarding. Lunasaur notwithstanding, as a Lunasaur is an asshole in the 3D version. Now, I admit, I despise the fight with Zeromus in the 2D version, but damn was he epic and awesome to fight in the 3D version. He was actually a final battle I would give a triple positive to. No question. Awesome. Good job, Zeromus. Holy shit. You know? I also like this outro, despite the obnoxious encounter rate. Not as good as the 2D version, but still good. You know? Next up, gameplay negatives, which, yes, brought us down to a net negative 17. Oh boy. 50 gameplay positives, which means there's going to be 67 gameplay negatives to go through. Here we go. Tech issues. Triple negative for tech issues. Blah. Hated it. The controller thing was more my cord than anything, but it really just felt like, what the hell, you know? I feel like the auto battle kind of sucks in this version. You have to set up a specific action, and that's the only thing auto battle will ever do. Not a fan of it. It's not the worst auto battle I've ever seen in the world, but it's definitely not a good one. Although that could be part of the problem. Part of the problem, I think, is just that it's not as good as the auto battle in the Pixel remasters. So I might be a little biased there. Just, you know, maybe. I might be a little biased. Maybe just a little. I don't like the slow pace of the combat. I like the animations, but the slow pace just kind of drags it, you know? Triple status effect fetish negative. I mean, are you really surprised? Naming Way's quest is the only way to view the bestiary, and that sucks. The bestiary and the event theater, which is just... What? Why? I'm not a fan of the spell effects this time around, and there are some accuracy and evasion issues. Running away also sucks in this one, as you drop Gil, and that isn't gotten at a good enough clip to really justify doing so. Which is funny because After Years actually avoids this, weirdly enough. Okay. The encounter rate is just too damn high. Triple negative for that. And then the high encounter rate also makes backtracking miserable in this one. And so triple negative there. Here's our difficulty curve negative. In this one, I feel like the curve just feels wrong. The curve itself is fine, but it just kind of starts with you hitting a wall right after Mist, and that's just kind of like, what? I don't feel I just feel the curve starts too high, you know? Just a little. It's like, I'm playing FF4, not Dark Souls. You know? Then there's the economy and price of goods, which, in relation to the gil you earn from battles is just, and it also leads to grind walls, which are just, what? Grind walls in FF4? That's mean. Ugh. Okay. Then there's the constantly deactivating map. Everything deactivates the map, and that just annoys the piss out of me. Battles with a high encounter rate, opening up the menu, opening up a chest, everything, and it's just, what? Ugh. I also feel like in this version, visual distinction is a bit blech. Like, they kind of fixed it in After Years, which is, but yeah, in this version, I don't know, something about the visual distinction just didn't work for me in this one. Wait, did I? Oh wow, I did. I screwed up. Okay, so that means that's only a negative 16. Whoops. Because there's my accuracy and evasion issues, which were actually 3. Oops. Part of the reason I do these, by the way. So, there are some trash mobs that have way too much HP. So, trash HP got a triple negative. I hate the Mom Bomb fight. Oh, God. It's got too much HP. It basically screws you over halfway through. I hate that fight. That is where you have Young join the party. So yeah, the Mom Bomb fight in the 3D version gets a triple negative. Bagan in this version is better, but he suffers from the exact same problem, as I feel he is too easy. The exact opposite problem, excuse me, as I feel he is just way too easy in the Steam version. Then there's Cognazzo. Yeah, Cognazzo decided that in this version, he'd be the difficulty spike from hell. He hits like a fucking truck, and you barely have enough time to use the weakest thunder spell to break his barrier to stop his tsunami attack. You combine that with him using status effects, and it's just like, oh my god, fuck off. Triple negative. The Magnetic Cavern, known in this version as Lodestone Cavern. Ugh. It's the same crap as in the 2D version, just with your armor not being allowed to be metallic either. I also really fucking hate the encounters in that place. They are obnoxious in terms of status effects and the encounter rate. So another 3 negatives there. I also really hate the Force Lost battle against the Dark Elf, and I really don't like the real fight where he turns into the cheap-ass Dark Dragon. I also really hate the second round against Dr. Luge in this version. It basically requires you to reuse elixirs on him, and those are not plentiful until you get to the moon. Ew. So, yeah. The passage to the Eidolons, I really don't like that place. It does not yield enough exp and gil to make it worth a damn. I also really don't like Leviathan in this version. I feel he is an AoE spamming whore, and I hate him. The Sealed Cavern in the 3D version is once again not one I like. Tons is again really fucking awful. It is really awful in the 3D version. Tons of Chimera and Chimeri and bats that absorb elements, especially the fucking Chimera. And the Chimera have cheap AoE where they feel like where if they feel like being assholes, they'll spam it. Yeah, triple negative for that dungeon. Sylvan Cave is another obnoxious place. Counters suck, damage tiles are obnoxious, and its only purpose is to reveal that Young is alive. Ugh. I hate Bahamut's Cave, even the 3D version, known as Lair of the Father. High encounter rate, the trash mobs are all assholes, and when the sub-boss, and the trash mobs are all assholes. God, I actually found the trash mobs more damaging than the goddamn behemoths. The behemoths fought fairer. Mount Ordeals and Fabul have the same song. What? Okay, let's just... basically the same song. Let's just change it. Alright, so... then there's Red Dragon and Lunar Subterrane. Just fuck off with his AoE spam of death. Triple negative there. Then there's Lunasaur, aka Status Effect Fetish, the fucking boss. I really hated Lunasaur. He was such an asshole. And then there's New Game Plus. Oh god. Oh, this is the absolute worst New Game Plus I've ever seen. You're limited to 3 playthroughs total. Only augments and rare items carry over, and that's it. What the fuck? At least let me carry over my levels, damn it. That's just, ugh. So yeah, triple negative there. And that led us to the negative, well, 16 because I fucked up. So, hey, it went up a single point. Just one. Ugh. Which I suppose means the average changed, didn't it? The awards I gave at the end of the VOD haven't, but the average did change, so let's do that. 37. Well, which left us with 6.17 averages per session. Well, that's still not bad. Could have been worse. In fact, it was worse. There's before. But yeah, that's the 3D version of FF4. I'm never going to play this version again. I refuse. I wish I liked this one more than I did. I do. I just wish I liked this one better than I do. But this is still a better game. I'm going to just go ahead and say this. This is still a decent game, and I still recommend you play it in some capacity. You know, whether it's the Steam version or the DS version. I won't discourage you from playing this version. Well, okay, I'll discourage you from playing this version, but I won't lament that you're playing this version. But if you absolutely have to play some version of Final Fantasy IV, I'd recommend the Pixel Remaster, as I feel the 2D version actually is balanced better. But if you want the challenging version, this one is available on Steam. So there's that. I don't mind this. I like this version from a story perspective, but I don't like playing this version. And I think that's the problem. Regardless of any of that, I guess that's all I really have to say. Final Fantasy IV is still one of my favorite FFs. And while this version might not be my favorite, I still think FF4 is a good game. It's just there are better versions of FF4 out there that I would recommend you play first, specifically the Pixel Remaster, right? Because the Pixel Remaster, is my preferred method, my preferred way to play FF4, right? The 3D version is fine for what it is, but I just feel like it doesn't click with me like the Pixel Remaster did, you know? Especially when you can play it on your Switch. Now, if you can play this version on your Switch, I'd be all for that, actually. Because, bite-sized and everything. I mean, that's how it was on the DS, so there's that. But that's it from me. Until next time. But that's it for me. So I'm gonna chop this off and upload this, and I will see you next time for my rating video on After Years. Oh, Lord. Spoilers, that one's not going to be nearly as positive. Until next time, Blue Wolf Alex of the Lore Walkers signing out. Have a good one. Later.